Welcome to The New Next, a podcast that addresses current events and how they will impact the future. Co-hosted by the inquisitive public speaking champion, Mike McVeigh, and energy, economics, and technology expert, Matt Jensen. Join us as we explore all things energy, economic, tech, and political, and how they will affect our future. Right. So we recently, I'm going to give them a little more time on that. All right. So we recently talked about solar panels and how they got dumped into some dump yards and stuff and the problems it caused. But hearing that, listen to this quote, Matt, and tell me if this gives you eerie feelings based after that conversation we had. Even as we face challenges in making this transition, it's the right move for our communities and planet. Most importantly, it will leave Hawaii a better place for our children and grandchildren. Could that not have easily been said about solar panels back in 2006?
Yeah, totally.
I mean, that kind of thinking. So what this is in reference to is Hawaii is now receiving its final shipment of coal. In fact, I guess it would have already, it'd be around this time that it's happened, which has been a goal that they put in a law in a couple years ago. Basically, even though coal was the cheapest source of energy, of power for them, and especially Oahu, it's the dirtiest source of power. And an interesting thing is, even with coal, Hawaii was considered the most expensive state for energy cost. So I get some of these solar panel vibes already. That are they planning? I mean, they're planning for the future, which is great, but are they taking in the cost for the future?
Yeah, so they're planning on replacing their coal-fired power plant that supplies 16% of their energy capacity with a giant battery system, which basically captures excess power generated by solar and wind, which is interesting, right? They have a lot of sun and wind over there. Part of the problem, though, is because of the global supply chain issues, this stuff hasn't come online and it's all behind schedule. So you're in a situation now where, like their utilities commissioner chair complained that last year in a community kind of discussion session that Hawaiians are going from cigarettes to crack because they don't actually have the renewable capacity to charge this battery. They're going to be doing it with oil generators. So
yeah, that part I noticed as well.
So the oil-fired generators, that's approximately like 4 or 5 times the cost of what coal was. Coal being the cheapest source, but also the most polluting source. But it's just really, it's really interesting because, like, to go back to our solar discussion, replacing the grid the way it is now takes a really thoughtful, well thought out, interconnected sort of plan. And it seems that a lot of the plan is to just jump in right away before things are ready and just see what happens. That's left us in the situation. I think this year, 2022, will be the highest year worldwide for coal consumption because it's, the renewables didn't pan out. And then you have the stuff, especially with Europe, with natural gas shortages, with all the Russian-Ukraine stuff. And also the cost of natural gas going up, that it's just weird. So you have consumers being kind of told that they should cut back on power. So lower air conditioner, take showers that are shorter, don't use ovens, buy their own solar and batteries, or basically pay for their oil or their own oil-based generators to kind of mitigate some of the prices for that. So
I love those.
Well, sorry. I was just saying, like, you know, I think like American consumers are not really inclined to want to consume less because of basically decisions that were made that were totally unavoidable and didn't really kind of think about, I guess, how consumer behavior goes in the first place. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but I just think it's a short-sighted view of consumer psychology.
Yeah, it would be. Well, what I was going to say when I was interrupting you so rudely was that one of the things that kind of cracks me up about this is in Oklahoma, the main local energy company every summer says, here are ways that you can reduce your energy costs. And they're like, cook after dark. Don't use energy at all during the daytime. When it's sunlight out, don't use energy. And I'm like,
it's like 100 degrees.
That's great if you have a schedule. But we tried this one summer. We didn't use their plan, and I think we found out
was it
why.
Smart hours?
And this is actually the smart hour stuff. But we tried an independent version of that. So we would turn the temperature up to 80 while we were gone, and then when we got home, we would turn it down to 70 or whatever. And we ended up using a lot more energy doing that than if we would have just kept it on 68 all day. Now, granted, insulation and other that kind of things. The reason why I point that out is it always cracks me up when it's like, hey, if everybody else is just going to be willing to be responsible, everything will work out fine. And it's one thing if you're challenging yourself, like, hey, I want to look like Chris Evans or Chris Hemsworth, work out and eat all these foods and stuff. It's another thing to say, like, to a whole state, like, hey, all you guys have to do to look like Chris Hemsworth is just don't do anything that you generally have done for all of your life. It's just a bad way of doing it. Dan Ariely talks about these kinds of things all the time, of behavior economics and kind of what some of the stuff you hinted to. But I do love the quote, going from cigarettes to crack. Coal's just a gateway renewable source, man. Wait till you get to the big energy stuff. Oil.
Well, and it's like oil is the least efficient way for central power generation. That's why basically nobody uses it in the U.S. And to think that this is kind of the situation we're in on this, it's just, I mean, it's kind of half-cocked energy policy as far as I'm concerned. And it'll be interesting. Who knows? Maybe we're wrong. maybe costs won't go out of control, but you know, the Honolulu news station is basically saying expect to pay more this year in the place that already has the highest energy costs. So it's like you keep hearing this talk about how this transition isn't going to be easy by public officials, and you're just like some of the polling that we went over, this is very low on the priorities for most people. So if you actually want this to go into effect, you need to dampen the impact on people. And if you're going to have this extreme impact on people and be like, well, if we don't do this, then we're all dead in 100 years. A lot of people aren't going to buy that. And essentially, like, it's my opinion that you kind of go backwards, like we're seeing with the excess coal consumption in this year. It's just, when you think about the first level effects, you have to also think about the second and third level effects of policy,
right? And
really be realistic about who your people are, because I mean, especially America, like you tell people to do this by force, they're gonna, really revolt on it. Like it's just not it's not a lot of people's behavior in the first place to be very compliant when they're told to do things. But basically saying that you're forcing people to do it, I think is, I don't know. I just see it's pretty short-sighted.
Yeah. I wish the best for them. And so Hawaii will be even more expensive to visit, which I haven't quite done yet. So I remember that.
Like a good example is Germany. Like they were phasing out their whole nuclear plants, and basically the thought was nuclear sucks after Fukushima, so let's shut all of it down. That's totally changed. Like overall, I think it's 70% of Germans now are strong supporters of nuclear power. You've seen some of their nuclear power plants that were supposed to be shut down this year basically get extended. And on a weird note with that too is I think of the Green Party supporters in Germany, I think it's only 47% support nuclear power. So essentially it's complicates stuff because when you shut down the nuclear power, they're basically using coal to fill that back up. And it's just kind of a weird, sometimes it seems like you're in Twilight Zone a little bit on some of these things.
Right. Yeah.
I wish we could just snap our fingers like that and make everything happen like we wanted to. But yeah, if you get a genie, then find a genie in a bottle, you'll be in high demand, Mike.
If I find a genie in a bottle, I'm going to have to do one of those math equations that gives me more wishes, but it makes it sound like I didn't ask for more wishes. If you would like to learn more about the New Next podcast, find us at thenewnextpodcast.com, where you can suggest a topic you would like for us to cover. If you enjoyed what you heard, share the podcast, tell a friend about it, or rate us with 5 stars.